You know, for the longest time, I was sitting here wondering whether or not it would have been a good idea to, I don't know, sunset my DVD collection and Blu-ray collection and just make everything digital. And a lot of people started doing that, like there are a lot less disc players in computers. It's getting more expensive or to try and find yourself a Blu-ray players. Some stores stopped even stocking them to begin with. But then comes something kind of sinister for anybody who is an anime fan. And this is kind of going in the long lines of things of you will own nothing and be happy. But I honestly think that what we're going to start seeing is more people buy the actual physical copies of their discs so they can just pop it into their disc player and play it because, well, Funimation is sunsetting and it's making people not so happy because even if you are already a Funimation or a Crunchy Roll subscriber, this is going to make a lot of people upset. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is coming directly from Funimation's website. If you're not aware, Sony purchased, I believe that they own Crunchyroll, and now they purchased Funimation, or it's the other way around. I'm not exactly sure about the details about who purchased who, but pretty much Sony owns them, and Funimation and Crunchyroll are merging into one service. Actually, what they've done is they've migrated all of Funimation's stuff that they had on their digital servers and moved it over to Crunchyroll, and now they're sunsetting Funimation. But it gets a little bit sinister when you actually break it down because and the reason why I say it's sinister is because for a lot of people, you go on things like Movies Anywhere and you buy a movie and it comes, a physical copy of a movie and it comes with the digital code. You put the code in, and now it's on the digital server, and you can watch it through the streaming service on any device that you have that has access to that. But then comes, where if the server shuts down, do you lose access to that movie? Now, you never lose it as long as you still have the disc and you can still pop it into your disc player and watch it at any time. But what happens when a service for anime shuts down its server and anything that you purchased on there goes away? This is becoming the case here with Funimation. So as part of Crunchyroll's unification of fan services announced in March of 2022, the Funimation app and website will sunset April 2nd, 2024. Rest assured, this transition will not impact your access to the vast library of anime available on Crunchyroll. We remain committed to delivering the best anime streaming service experience and will continue to expand our offerings to cater your diverse interests. So, what are they doing? They said, why is Funimation ending? At Funimation, our mission is to always provide our fans with... Okay, so you're more corporate speak. Basically, it's going to end April 2nd. Is all the Funimation catalog available on Crunchyroll? This is what I was said before, is that they did migrate it over. But now that it is migrated, they're sunsetting it. But where it gets mean to a lot of people is that, as you scroll down, you start to realize what are going to happen to my digital copies. We understand you may have concerns about your digital copies from Funimation. These digital copies available on Funimation were a digital access to the content available on the DVDs or Blu-rays purchase. Please note that Crunchyroll does not currently support Funimation digital copies, which means that access to previously available digital copies will not be supported. However, we're continuously working to enhance our content offerings and provide you with an exceptional anime streaming experience. So, you no longer have access to your digital copies. So you cannot access the things that are on the DVDs or on the Blu-rays. They're gone. They're going to be, after April 2nd, it all gets turned off, and you will no longer have access to what you purchased. Now, to me, that's kind of sinister, because you think about it, you bought it, you own it. Understand that distributing it, or, you know, like kind of like I understand that there are certain copyright laws and what have you that do make sense to a lot of people, but if you don't own it, then what's to stop people from doing things to gain access to it from another means? And this is why I am an advocate for physical media. I definitely believe in the idea of owning a physical copy of a disc to be able to watch the movie at any time, as long as your computer, or, you know, if you have a DVD player at home or something that has access to a disc player, just to be able to play your movie. The other thing that people can be doing is that they can rip their own discs, which technically isn't legal, and have that digital copy right off of their disc, right on their computer, and then they can just take those files wherever they go. You just put them on a thumb drive, and you can watch it on your tablet, and, you know, wherever you want to go to be able to do all these things. But you can't do that if you don't have access to a digital, you know, if the only access you have is through a digital copy. And because a lot of people like bought a movie or bought a DVD or Blu-ray through Funimation, got the digital code, then sold off the discs and kept the digital streaming service. So now the digital streaming service is quite literally taking that away from you. And some people have talked about other means of getting a digital copy. And that is where the legal, you know, point of everything kind of goes into question. But if you think about it, if you no longer have access to it, then really it's a matter of the fans trying to ensure that these animes and these TV shows stay. You know, you think about this. All of the games that were on the Wii, you know, eShop or Wii U eShop, when those servers went down, where do you now have access to those games unless the fans themselves figure out a way to get the digital copy stored someplace so that it's not lost? And you've heard about a lot of these things happening where the companies that own them, they have poor distribution or poor, you know, preservation of these TV shows. The best example is Doctor Who. You know, Doctor Who, there are multiple episodes completely missing because the master copies of those VHS tapes were lost due to time, and the BBC did not do a good job of keeping Doctor Who in place, where you now have entire episodes, including the first Doctor's regeneration into the second Doctor, completely gone because, well, they had to like get it from like another TV show thing that had aired it, and that's the only place that you can actually watch the first Doctor become the second Doctor, because that one episode is missing. Same thing with many of the second and the third and some of the fourth Doctor's episodes are completely missing, and the only way that they have access to them is they have the audio file, and they've animated it with a really poor, you know, very stiff looking animation that doesn't necessarily look as good. Now what comes down to anime. Well, anime, you know, a lot of, you know, Japanese companies will keep those TV shows intact and still have access to them, but it's the dubs and the subtitles that are done by official means when they're distributed outside of Japan that people are like, well, now I want to be able to have access to that. And if you don't necessarily have that, then you're going to be kind of stuck unless it's copied somewhere. Another example that where the fans have done their due diligence to ensure that things were kept. I mean, you take a look at the original Transformers cartoon. Now, the original broadcast masters had a lot of the animation errors corrected, but the master copy that Rhino had access to was a production, an assembly cut. And the assembly cuts have incomplete animation, or might have colors that weren't corrected, or things that were not corrected in the finished broadcast version. And yet there was the assembly cut that was actually put onto the Rhino DVDs. And Shout Factory actually tried to splice in some of the broadcast tapes in order to try and fix some of those errors for season 1. But it didn't necessarily do it for season 2 and season 3. And that's unfortunate because a lot of those episodes now could have been animated properly or could have been fixed the way that they needed to be. But that's not just with Transformers or Doctor Who. This is now like with anime, people are wondering, okay, well, you have this problem happening with video games. If the master files for the video game or the source code goes missing because one company acquires another and then erases everything from what they purchased, then you'll never see it again. And this is terrible. This is a really terrible thing. And I honestly wonder, if not for the fans of these things, would we not be preserving it? And the more that this stuff happens, I become now, like, I honestly believe that, well, if people believe that piracy is wrong, but if you don't own it, then is it piracy? Is it really piracy to get it through other means? That's really where you have to take that into consideration. And the other thing is like this thing where you buy a video game on Steam and you download the copy of the game, and then 5-6 years later, some crazy company buys that company and then says, that movie or that TV show or that video game is problematic. So what do? They decide to edit those scenes out of the movie, those characters out of the game, or whole moments of the game become censored that were never censored for many, many years. And now censorship becomes an after the fact. And you sit there and you wonder, well, this has to happen because we are a different society today. And it's like, no, if you want to make something that's different for the future, that's one thing. But don't go trying to change or alter the past. You look at things like a movie that comes out by a certain corporate rat company that is made at the time to be trying to bring people together. And then they say 25 years later, now 50, 60, 70 years later, that movie is problematic and we don't need people being, coming together. We need to never acknowledge that movie exists. And then we'll change everything in the theme park that even had any mention of that movie by erasing that ride or erasing that merchandise or anything. But I'll give an example, Skullgirls. Now, I have never played Skullgirls, but I've only heard that what ended up happening is that a new company bought the company that owns, or new people ownership came in who owned Skullgirls, and now the new people who own Skullgirls came and edited the video game. So now a game that you bought in 2012, I think that's when the game came out, is now censored in 2023, 2024. And the game is completely altered from what it was originally. Well, now you don't have access to the game that you already purchased, already played with all of that content as it was. Whether you agreed with it or not is irrelevant. The point of the matter is the fact that they're going back and they're censoring things, they're putting band-aids on things to erase their past. It's no different than going to the Arlington Cemetery and deciding to remove a statue that is supposed to bring people together. This is like historical censorship, man. And like, as things like this happening, they want us to own nothing and we'll be happy. They want us to forget our history, and they want us to not preserve our past in any way, shape, or form. They want us to do whatever they've told us to do. And who are they? It's basically some of these activists who come in and they purchase a company and they change things. Now, when it comes down to Funimation, I know I've ranted a little bit about this, but when it comes down to Funimation and Crunchyroll, breaking it down, it's like this. You are literally telling people that everything that they've purchased is gone. What is to stop them now from finding other means to, find access to this content that you are now erasing? What is to stop them from doing that? And now what you'll probably see is less and less people buying this as a whole. The worst part about this is that not only is Funimation and Crunchyroll merging. They are also increasing the cost if you're going to pay monthly from $5.99 to $9.99 US dollars for the Crunchyroll service. So they're increasing your cost and telling you that all your digital copies are gone. Yeah, buy physical media, find other means to get that content on your computer, whether it be a disc ripper or something, and preserve it. It's up to the fans to preserve this stuff because these companies do not care about the consumers. But I want to know what you guys think about this stuff. Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. I have more reviews and things like that coming down the pipeline for this channel, so stay tuned for all that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.